been a hell of a week, and it's good to be back on Rarity Games. Oh man, I had to take a little hiatus there, take a little break from the content creation, but we are back and in full effect with tons of new stuff to talk about, and I mean tons. So, we got our Xbox Series X unboxing, and we'll have more content to cover on the Series X, but today, it's been a little under a week since the PS5's launch, and you know I could not stop playing games on that thing. So, I have a little bit of unboxing stuff to give you on that, but I wanted to give you a little bit more and give you my experience of 1 week with the PS5. Let's roll straight into this. Alright guys, so the first thing we need to talk about is expectations. Before getting this console, we all knew we'd be getting the obvious 4K, the obvious higher frame rate, and then ray tracing, better shadows and textures, smoother overall gameplay, the ability for developers to put more polygons into a game and have that incredible detail as if it were real life. Now those are all things we knew. Coming from the Series X and the PlayStation 5, we knew that we were going to get this stuff. But when it gets in your hands, it's a different thing. It blows you away. Now, I know there's PC gamers here listening to me right now, and they understand the frame rates and the graphics and all that, and so do I. I'm here on my PC, and I've been playing those games for months. It's different when you hold this controller, and I think that's the main thing that the PS5 has that nothing else does. When you have this controller in your hands with a surround sound system, a 4K TV running at a smooth frame rate, even in fidelity mode, the frame rate is great compared to last gen consoles. Now, we're not hitting those 120 frames a second as advertised. We're not going to get there yet. We'll be there soon. In the next year, maybe two, we'll have games at 1080p 120 and maybe 4K 60. Who knows? Either way, the experience does feel a lot better. And wow, the DualSense controller is the main thing, and it's the main focus that I'm going to put on this video because it changes everything. The moment you boot up that PS5 and turn on the preloaded game, Astro's Playroom, it blows your mind. They do a controller demo to start it out where you literally feel the vibrations from the tip of the controller at the very bottom, and they slowly build up the controller until it fills the entire thing in your hand. And your speakers, if you are fortunate enough to have a surround sound system with some bass on it, is mimicking that vibration and that sound effect at the same time. And it becomes a whole interactive experience like nothing I've ever felt before. I've always loved bass, and I've always loved sound systems and the feeling of your games or the feeling of your movies. And this controller takes it to the next level. And then shortly after that vibration test, they launch the trigger test, where you can pull the right and left triggers for a rocket effect on the controller to happen. You pull halfway down lightly, as a normal trigger would, but then you feel it lock up out of nowhere. And you go, wait, hold on a second. Why is it? Oh, and you pull harder, and then the right side on the screen shoots off like a rocket, and the right speaker in your surround sound system rumbles with bass, and you feel the tension in that trigger build up as you pull it down. And it blew me away. And then I sit there and I pull left trigger, right trigger, left trigger, right trigger, and you see this controller shooting off, and when you pull both, the sound system just explodes, and then everything just is rattling, and then the controller in your hand, the vibration is incredible, and it really feels like, as much as you can make it feel like, a rocket is in your hands. It's quite magical in a way, and it was not what I expected from this controller. I knew it was going to be fancy, I knew it was going to be nice, and I knew they were going to do something different, but just as many other people, their expectations were, oh, you have new fancy vibrations and you're doing something cool with the triggers, okay. Like, and it's just not possible to show someone in an advertisement, marketing, or in a video on YouTube to tell them how this feels. It's just not possible. You have to experience it for yourself. There's nothing like it. And then they move on to the touchpad, which is very similar to the first one, but way more accurate. You can sit there and write your name in the trackpad and it will see it. It will roll out on screen, and it is much smoother than the last one. And then of course, the motion controller of moving the controller where you want it, that is the next test in Astro's Playroom, and it does feel pretty damn incredible and much smoother than previous generations. Now, the gameplay in Astro's Playroom is the perfect demo for this kind of thing. I definitely recommend, if you get your hands on a PS5, that is the first thing you try. But without spoiling too much about that and talking too long, because I'm getting excited, let's move on to Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man doesn't go as hard with this controller. It doesn't do as much as Astro's Playroom, because Astro's Playroom is meant to show you what the controller is capable of. But boy, does it still deliver. The moment you see Rhino coming at you out of the prison cage that he's in, and he slams it open, the controller vibrates at the top where he's at on screen. Then he slams a car on the left. Your subwoofer goes boom on the left side. The controller rattles on the left side. And then right side, he slams another car. Subwoofer, controller. It just feels incredible. It's like a new version of surround sound. You can feel as he moves from the left to right side of the screen. You feel the vibrations and the speakers hitting at the same time. And you feel like you're there. You feel like Rhino's running at you. It's pretty incredible. And the game itself is so much smoother and so much more detailed than the first game. And I loved the first game. Spent almost 100 hours. I platinumed it and hit the New Game Plus up. Like, this game feels so much unbelievably smoother than the first one. The web swinging, everything. And the fact that when you pull the triggers on the web swing, you can literally feel the trigger as if you're holding a rope and swinging. Like, it tightens the trigger slightly, and then if you release it halfway, you'll let go of the web, and then the trigger is now loose. And then when you pull it, as soon as the web pulls out of your hand, you feel a little dunk in the trigger, and now you know, without even looking at your screen, that you are holding a web in your hand. And that just is incredible. It's so immersive and so detailed. And the way I try to describe it to a friend for the vibration and the triggers is, it seems like they're using the 3D audio designed by Sony to use the haptic feedback. So if you have 7.1 Dolby Digital Surround Sound, you can literally hear exactly where each sound is. Think of that as the way the haptic feedback works. So if something's happening behind you on the screen, the bottom right of the controller, or the bottom, but say it's behind you to the right, the bottom right of the controller will vibrate. It's in front of you to the left, the top left of the controller will vibrate. They use the sound design in the game to actually vibrate where the controller needs to go. Even something as crazy as walking on the ground in something like Astro's Playroom, if you're on wood, you feel the dunk 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 of the wood. If you're walking on sand, you feel the you feel the sand in the controller. It's incredible. And like I said, this is the main thing I want to focus on in this video, because I want to make it relatively short. But wow, the DualSense controller has blown me away. I started playing games like Pathless. I wanted to buy any game that I could that would give me the features of this controller, and pulling the bow and yanking it, and then it hits the target and your character zooms forward and you just feel the speed in your controller through the vibration. It is quite literally amazing. And this is something that I wanted out of next gen. I wanted to feel something new, something different, something just next generation. And wow, did Sony deliver on this one. And I honestly hope that this is not just a gimmick. This is not just something that developers pass by. So far, it seems like companies like Activision and Take-Two, like they have done it. 2K Games has implemented this controller with the stamina on the right trigger. It gets tighter as the game goes on and your stamina decreases. Call of Duty has implemented it with the guns. Every single gun, the trigger feels completely different. It bounces back with the recoil. The trigger will have more tension or less tension depending on the type of gun you're using. It's baffling, and I'm really hoping that the developers stick with this, and honestly I'm hoping that Xbox steals this idea in some way, and even Nintendo at some point. I know they have HD Rumble, but this is the next level, and I really hope that this becomes the norm for video games on console, because it's something that nothing else can deliver right now except the PS5, and I don't want it to be a lost feature. It's quite like the touchpad was last generation and motion controls were in the generation before that. Sony has always tried to implement something new, but it always faded away. And this time, I do not want it to fade away. I want to see a lot of new games implement this, and there's quite a few that already have, but I'm hoping it's not just Sony paying them extra or giving them a little bit more to implement these features. I'm hoping that it's the developers themselves experiencing it and wanting to add it into their games, and I can't wait to see what it has to offer. But other than that controller, 100% I recommend the PS5. 100%, especially if you do not have a 4K console yet. If you don't have a Pro or a 1X, get a PS5. I was fortunate enough to skip the Pro, so I went straight into the launch console of the 5, and boy am I glad I did. On a 4K TV or a high frame rate TV, it is beautiful. And I have so much more to talk about. I just completed Godfall, a game that does not use the haptic feedback and vibrations as much as I'd hope it would. It is there, but it's not prevalent. But I just beat that, so I'll be talking about that game very soon. I'll do a quick review on that. Very good game, very fun. And I plan on getting Miles Morales done very shortly. I know it's a short game, but boy, have I been playing a lot. But so far, guys, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to try to describe to you how amazing this next generation, especially coming from the PS5, is so far. And that about covers it, boys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Hope to see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.